significant contribution to the advancement of technology. Ma'am is an IEEE CS20 in the 20s honorary IEEE volunteer, and ma'am also being the chair of IEEE DESI WIs in all around across the world. Today we are honored to have you along with us, ma'am. Now the session is entirely yours, ma'am.
I tried to share my screen. Just give me a minute. And I've already talked about this topic earlier with my own engineering college back in Karnataka. So it's a pleasure always talking to engineering students because we all are from the same background. And I would like that if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to raise your hands, or you can just stop me anytime if you have any questions in between. And also, once again, sorry for the interruption last time. The internet connection was really bad, which is why I couldn't connect. And thank you for rescheduling. So I just wanted to start with my educational background. So I finished my bachelor's in electronics and communications. Sanjana, is the slides moving or are we still on the same slide?
Yes, ma'am, it is moving.
Okay, great. So I finished my bachelor's in electronics and communications from SMBITM, which is based in Udupi, Karnataka. And then once I finished my bachelor's degree, I moved on to continue my master's and Master of Engineering from Manipal University. It was a dual degree, so I had the first 6 months of my master's in India, and the next 6 months in France. And similar to India, you have 1 year of studies, and then you need to do 1 year of internship to get the master's degree. It was the same kind of program. So we were allowed to do our internship anywhere in the world. So I chose to stay back here in France. So, but the advantage of this is we had 2 different degrees, Master of Engineering and Master of Science at the end of our internship. So, but you also had a choice of choosing just to finish one of the masters. Whereas for the masters in India, if I wanted the ME from Manipal University, I had to finish 1 year of internship to get that master's degree. Whereas to get the Master of Science degree from the France University, I had to do only 4 months of internship. So I could have chosen to just do one or so. Yeah, we had that choice. So when I was doing my internship to finish my master's, I was chosen in a company. It was an international company. When we moved from India to France, entire batch, along with all my friends, we were 17 of us who moved from India to France. And for us, it was definitely something new and difficult as well in terms of culture and also language, because we didn't speak French. We had started our classes back in Manipal, and it was the basic level of French that we had. But again, it was completely new for us, and it was definitely a challenge for us. But our courses was in English, luckily. We restarted our education. I mean, our the language classes once we came to France again. But it was not an advanced level, and it's not enough of time, because you know that you'll be spending most of your time with your classmates who are from India. So you tend to speak your mother tongue or in English or the state language or whatever you have, you're comfortable with, right? Which made it more difficult for us to adapt to the language here. Um, so most of my classmates, they decided to move out of France because if you want to land a job here in France or any internship, the first thing that would they ask is, do you know French, and how what is the level of French that you have? So this is not just to, it's not, they don't want you to speak like fluent French, but it's just to for them to see that have you made any efforts coming to a different country, adapting to their culture, their language, right? So it doesn't make any sense that you're moving to another country if you're not making any efforts to adjust to their culture. So most of my classmates, they moved to US, English speaking countries mostly. So Germany, Germany is not English speaking country, but they had an option of choosing English language. Netherlands, Austria, US. We were not a lot of us who stayed back here in France. There were 2 or 3 at the beginning during my first internship, and then I chose to continue my second internship. Here, the internships are for 6 months. You cannot have a contract for more than 6 months. So I continued to choose in the same company. I think during the second term of my internship, I was the only one who stayed back here in France. And that's when my interest was more towards research, and I wanted to continue doing research in this domain I was working in. So I was working in the high voltage domain, mostly on the converters used in the high voltage systems, and that's when I knew one of my colleague who told me that they have he knows a professor who have a PhD opportunity, and once I finished my internship, I came back to India, and then I gave my interview from there. The first thing, I mean, during the interview, they did ask me that do I speak French and how do you adapt with the team and everything. That's the basic thing nowadays. They do ask, I guess, how do you adapt in a? Are you a group player, or do you adapt well yourself in a group? Or yeah, so it's not just the educational qualification that matters. It is very important how you adapt and how you work in a group. And yeah, that's when they told me that it's going to be important for me to learn the language, because the engineers who work in the labs or in the companies, they are not youngsters, so they won't be able to adapt according to us. So we would be the one making a step towards learning the language. So that's when I started learning the French language more seriously, to be frank. So PhD, then I started my PhD in another city, Montpellier, which is in the south of France. Normally here, PhD it's a 3-year program, but it took me 4 years to finish the PhD. There's a lot of story behind that as well, but it definitely is a very good experience, because when you move from your country to another country, when the culture is not different, the language is not different, it's not the same thing. But I've definitely learned a lot during this phase, and PhD itself, you learn a lot in terms of patience. You learn a lot about yourself as well during this phase, but it's definitely worth it. At the end, I think you're more discouraged towards when you're finishing your PhD, but somehow you also know that you have your friends and family are behind you. You have done all these sacrifices until so many years, so it's worth it to finish all the work that you have done. And then I started applying, looking for jobs after that. So I was proposed a postdoctoral research position. This is also another funny story, because I applied for this current position that I'm in, but they said, "Oh, we are looking for someone who already has a PhD degree." And I still had 3 more months, and I told them that, look, I won't be able to finish before the start of your contract, so I would need still 3 more months. But they said, okay, we can't wait for that long. But then they again reached out to me a month after that, I guess, saying that they were really interested in in my candidature, and they wouldn't mind me hiring beforehand, even though I didn't finish my postdoctoral research. So that's why this title R&D engineer. So they hired me as an engineer, because it doesn't make sense for them to hire me as a postdoctoral researcher if I haven't finished my PhD. So technically, it's a postdoctoral research contract, but I'm also an engineer. So currently, I'm working with an university here which is based in Lyon, and also a startup company which has been. They are also working in the high voltage domain, mostly in the high voltage domain applications. So far it has been a great experience. I was very intrigued once I stepped into this research thing. I always wanted to continue this. So that's how IEEE comes into the picture, because I wouldn't have been part of IEEE if I wouldn't have taken up PhD or research. I was not aware of this as a student. I think even my engineering college, it didn't have any student branch chapter. Or back then, when I was in the college, I came to know about this only when I started my PhD, and I was not really involved as a student. So that is one thing I would regret, that why didn't I know about this earlier, or why didn't I join this earlier? Because IEEE has so many opportunities for students. They have so many technical societies, tons of opportunities for students out there, scholarships, and so many other things. But yeah, it's never too late. I did join IEEE as a student, just like maybe you guys. I joined it just for as a student, PhD student, I wanted to go to the conferences. I was publishing my papers. It was just to get some reductions for the conferences. I did have this membership. But until I finished my PhD, I was not really an active member of IEEE. One because I was mostly part of one particular technical society, and that was Dielectrics and Electrical Insulation Society. And I still remember, it was almost the end of 2022 when I came across. It was almost my end of PhD, and until then, I was just a member, and I was not really active. I just, out of nowhere, to be frank, e-notices, when you're a student, you don't really read out all the emails that you get, right? I just happened to open an e-notice, which when I saw that they were looking for a young professional, they were rebooting young professional YPs within the DIS, and they were looking for a few representatives. They were forming a committee, so they didn't have a committee. So DIS is one of the last but one technical society to reboot young professionals within them. And most of the technical societies are very well established. They have their own initiatives and programs that they have. But 2022 was when YP was rebooted within this DIS. And that's when I applied, and I was still back in India. I was writing my thesis, and I still remember the chair of the committee. He interviewed me for the position. So they had multiple positions, right? Vice chair, Europe representative. So I think that was not an ideal time, to be frank, when I gave the interview, because there was a lot of noise going on. I completely forgot that I had an interview, but I still asked the chair that why did you even choose me, because the interview was in catastrophe. It didn't really go well in terms of, I was not prepared. There was so much of background noise and everything. So he did ask me, what kind of position do you want, and do you want to take up this position? You can let me know if you have any preferences. That's when I told him that, look, you are the one who have taken interview of all the candidates, I think you are in the best position to know and to choose who is capable or who's good for which position, right? Um, by the beginning of September or mid-September is when we received the email. I was chosen as the European representative for the DIS YP committee, and that's my first position or the breakthrough within IEEE and DIS as a volunteer. And I was really, really excited because I never had a volunteer position, or just because DIS is not a very big technical society compared to, let's say, Power and Energy Society or Computer Society or any other technical society, right? Because if you see, Computer Society has more than 300,000 people, whereas DIS, it's a very um, narrowed down technical domain. It's very precise in terms of technical expertise. So we hardly have 2,000, the 2,500 members, I guess, not more than that. And that's why, so we know almost most of our people who are in the domain, they're from which country, which expert is working in which lab. We almost know because it's the same people who go to the conferences. You, as a student, you see your peers in the conferences, and you know what kind of work they are doing in which expertise and domain. So just being part of this technical society and be representing YPs in Europe, it was a huge thing for me. That's when I started getting more involved in the voluntary positions. I was giving my all the efforts over there, because since it was my first position, I really wanted to prove that I could do something here. I wanted to make an effort. That's when I think after COVID, they restarted this face-to-face meeting that happened in Dominican Republic, and I met many other YPs over there, and that's when I got to know that the position that I'm representing is nothing in front of all the voluntary positions that they have in IEEE, right? So let me just quickly go to the next slide. Currently, I'm part of IEEE Young Professionals. IEEE Young Professionals has how do you say, the representatives for all the technical societies. There are 39 technical societies, and then you have councils. So overall, it is 46 in total. And each technical society and council has a representative. So I'm a part of DIS and Computer Society as well for YPs. And I'm also involved in Women in Engineering. So again, these both are affinity groups, young professionals and women in engineering. And technical societies are involved in both the affinity groups. And Climate and Sustainability Task Force is also an unique task force that was started last year, and which is very different compared to all the other activities that we had so far in IEEE. And they are doing some, I mean, since I'm part of the group now, we are doing some incredible work to advocate and bring youth people to high-level events and make their voice noticeable in front of the people who are experts in the domain, right? So just to, I know that you guys might already know about IEEE. I'm sure that you guys might be part of IEEE even much more longer than me. For me, it hasn't been that long, but this is one of the picture. I still remember my first YP face-to-face meeting. They showed us this high-level view of IEEE and IEEE YP. I was really shocked, and I was like, wow. So just being part of I was not even technical society YP chair. I was just part of European representative of a society. So it is not even anywhere in this picture. So at the top, we have the board of directors, the president, and all the main people of IEEE. And IEEE YP chair, so the current chair is Hasala. He is the YP liaison to the board of directors. And then we have different boards. We have the Publication Services and Products Board, IEEE Standards Association, under tab. So under each activity, we have one or more than one YP representatives. Under tab, we have 3 tab YP representatives, and then we have the society, and all the YP representatives come under tab. Under MGAB, that is Membership and Geographic Activities Board, we have 3 MGYP representatives, and then we have the 10 regional coordinators. So for the moment, we have 10 regions in IEEE. This might change, not sure exactly, maybe in next year or next to next, we will have more than 10 regions. So anyway, that's an extra detail. Each region have their own coordinators within young professionals, or even within women in engineering. So yeah, so young professionals, women in engineering, student activities committee, these all come under MGAB. And then we have the Educational Activity Board and also IEEE USA Board. So each committee has a liaison to the YP. And so who are young professionals? Young professionals were usually called the graduates of the last decade. And this is we are IEEE members. Once you graduate from your first professional degree, you are automatically, you don't need to pay a fee. So you become an YP once you are graduated. So once you're graduated from your first professional degree, within the past 15 years, you will stay an YP. So these statistics, I'm sure that it might have improved over the last year. So I'm not sure if it is an updated one, but we have more than 27% of the IEEE membership who are YPs. And it's not 100, I think it's more than 125,000 YPs are IEEE members are YPs, over 231 section affinity groups, and in some cases there are also senior members that are eligible to be YPs. So yeah, this was the first the YP meeting that I attended face to face, and this was also first one after the COVID that we had. This is where I met most of the society reps and everyone. So most of us were in the same situation, because I had no idea until then that you could be part of more than one technical society, or how does this work? How everything is segregated within IEEE. This big picture view that I showed you earlier, I had no idea until I went there, and I got to learn a lot of things. There are so many opportunities in IEEE. If you want to volunteer, there's tons of work that you can do or volunteer. So yeah, I definitely motivate you guys to approach to the people if you're interested in any position you come across, or even if you don't come across, you think that you're capable of doing something in your particular expertise, you can reach out to people just to see that if they have something in hand. So unless you don't reach out to people, you would never know, or they cannot guess that you have this expertise, or you're good at particular things, right? So don't hesitate or don't be shy to reach out to people if you think that you are capable of doing volunteering in particular things. And then IEEE Rising Stars was one of the conference, which is also going to be pretty special for me, because that's where I met my first mentor, the current mentor that I had. Everyone were talking about him. He was a guest speaker in the conference, and I was just looking for an opportunity to talk to him so that I can invite him for a webinar series that we had in DIS. I was just asking for a 5-minute just to have a talk with him, right? Just to chit chat with him. But when I spoke to him, we ended up speaking for more than an hour. I was really surprised that this person who has more than 50 years of experience, or he's a member of IEEE for more than 52 years, and he has given me 1 hour of his time explaining all about his experience in IEEE, and he's also from electrical engineering background. He has been the PE president, and I was really amazed that people at this level could spare 1 hour of their time, and I that's when I realized that mentoring, how important it is, mentoring especially students, because as an engineering student, I or any of my friends, I don't think we had that guidance of understanding what exactly we wanted to do. Most of the Indian households, or we know that our parents, that you have to become an engineer or doctor. It's not like we have tons of opportunities. I know how it has been, because I really wanted to continue my passion within sports, or let's say within karate, but they know that it's not something that you would do for a living. So I couldn't continue that when I was an engineering student. But you guys, it's not the same when back 10 years back or 20 years back. So many things have changed. Your teachers, you can reach out to them anytime, or you have so many other people from IEEE. You guys have some great volunteers even from Madras section, I believe. You have so much support right now compared to even our parents or grandparents that they had, right? 20, 30 years back, 40 years back. You can reach out to people easily. You're connected over LinkedIn or the social media. Just let them know, or if you need any help, you can reach out to them anytime. It's not the same. So I feel that we lacked guidance back then, and even when I finished my engineering, I was not sure of. It's not like I had pre-planned doing masters, dual degree, PhD. Not at all. I think I was one of the most naughtiest students, to be frank. Not really interested in attending the. I think you guys also have this placement drives in the college. Even we had that, and we were obliged to go to the placement drives. That was the only reason I attended those placement drives, I guess. And almost every one of my classmates had landed a job at the end of the year before exams. But again, I was not sure that that is something that I would want to do. But after the exams, we had the training sessions. Once we landed the job, training session. I was going to the training session, but again, not sure about what I was going to do. That's when my cousin, who had cleared his exams, and he was doing masters in Manipal, and he told me about this program, and that's how I got into this master's program. Or else, I don't think I would have. I would have gone into this dual degree and then France, and it was something that intrigued me. That okay, maybe going to another country was really very exciting for me, just to know how is it, because I haven't been out of India for the 22 years, and that was the first time I was going out of India. That was a completely different experience, and you're going out with your friends, and I thought this would be a good experience, but not everyone took it the same way. Most of them, even I did miss my family, but end of the day, I think it was all worth it. Yeah, when your family and everyone is there to support you, I think that's what is more important. So just to say that right now it might not be clear for you what path you would want to choose after engineering, or even right now, it's okay. It's not that important that you have everything figured out right away. But if you're seeking for any guidance, reach out to people, reach out to your professors, reach out to any people in IEEE. There's so many mentorship programs that are happening in IEEE. You can just ask anyone, or not necessarily even enter into a program. just ask someone. I'm sure anyone would be able to help you out. But the first thing that you need to do is reach out. And that's what my mentor said. Once I met him, I told him that would you be interested to come to the webinar session, and he said yes. And during the webinar session is when he told me that don't be shy to talk to the people and ask for guidance. And the same evening I dropped him an email asking would you mentor me, would you be my mentor, and he happily accepted that. And I've been talking about this because as a new member within IEEE and volunteering, I had tons of questions and so many things going on. And I was not sure. Sometimes you're right about the choices you make. It's just that you need an affirmation from a senior person to say that you're going on a right path. It is not necessary that they are going to choose a path for you. Mentorship is not about that they are going to choose a path for you. It's just about giving that affirmation or confirmation that what you're doing is right. Or if something is not right, they are going to say that, look, I've gone through the same situation. They've been through these phases, right? So they're happy to guide you if something is, you feel that you are stuck somewhere. And it has been very helpful. And I've met him many other times as well. During last year, I think I've met him more than my family. We have catched up, I think, twice or thrice a year last year. I've made some really great friends as well through IEEE. I think it's a great place to connect with people through conferences, to make contacts. Sometimes the people you meet in IEEE become your family as well. You're in touch with them most of the time. You work with them most of the time. You know the people, and it's a great great connection that you make, and that's gonna last for a very long time. And then I met him. That's my mentor in the picture. So that's where I met him again in the WIC Summit last year. I met his family as well. So it goes beyond the connection that you have in IEEE. So once again, it's a great opportunity for you all. You're all students right now. Have a great time, but also at the same time, use this opportunity as students. As I said, I really regret that I didn't know about this IEEE and the opportunities that they have for students within IEEE before. But I think it's never too late. Hopefully, you guys will be able to make more use of what they have, the opportunities that they have, and explore all the opportunities. And I also know that how competitive it is in India, and we all have been there. It's very competitive, but don't lose hope. I'm sure that everyone would find something that would interest you. Keep an eye open. Don't wait until the opportunity comes to you. Their IEEE volunteering platform, keep checking. If something that interests you, apply for it. There are throughout the year some or the other position that will come up. And make good use of the opportunities that are there out there. So I've been part of the Computer Society as well, from the Rising Stars. That's when I met few of the friends that you saw in the picture earlier. They asked me to join Computer Society. I told them that I've learned embedded systems, and I had a bit of background in computer science. That my majors in university, but currently I was not working in this domain. They said that it's always nice to have a third person point of view, not necessarily it is your background, but so that's how I went, joined the Computer Society, and the people are really, really nice. It's a very big society. As I said, there are more than 375,000 plus members in Computer Society in more than 168 countries. So many student run chapters. There's so many motivated volunteers. It's been 1.5 years, and it's just amazing to see the network that they have built in the past year, and so many students, volunteers, YPs, everyone is motivated to do activities. Especially in India, there's so many active student branch chapters just like yours. I'm not sure if which student branch chapter do you have. Is it just a IEEE one, or is it something related to a technical society? But keep an eye on all the opportunities that even the computer society has. They really have some good scholarship opportunities, and also many other conferences and workshops that comes up throughout the year. So again, yeah, as I said, they have more than 189 international conferences throughout the year, 3,000 plus technical and networking events. It might be in your own local student branch chapter or the section level or the council level. It's a great way to network with people. As I said, I've met most of my people that I know today in IEEE through these conferences, or even my mentor through these networking events, right? So it's a great opportunity. Take part in these conferences as you're a student, because I know that once you move into this, become a YP, the in terms of prices, it's a bit more expensive as well. But as a student, you have a lot of offers. Make use of it until you're a student. More than 12,000 plus volunteers are working here in IEEE. They have more than 619 boards. So not just computer society, there are many other societies. If this is not your domain, I'm not sure if you all are from the same technical background, or you guys have separate technical expertise here. If some are from civil or electronics and communications or CS, I'm not sure, but I'm sure there is one or the other technical society that might suit your specific technical expertise. And as I said, again, they have very good awards and scholarship that keeps opening up every year. These are the few that I've seen my colleagues who have won. Most of the people who are part of the committees, they have won these awards. So once again, as a student, I didn't know about these things, and I would like you guys to look into the opportunities that they have and apply for it, because we always think that, okay, there are 375,000 plus members. Why should I apply? I mean, there is no way that you're going to get this award. So don't think in that way. I used to do that as well. So it's not that you're the only person who's doing that. But until and unless you apply, you never know whether you're you are the right candidate or not. Apply for it. Don't think about what is going to happen later. Do it, and I'm sure that there's something that would be suiting your particular expertise. So many leadership and volunteer opportunities as well. Again, not just in computer society. There are tons of affinity groups and technical societies, councils, humanitarian activities board. There's many programs that you would like to be part of in IEEE. Connect with the people, make good connections, network with them. This is definitely going to add a plus point in your own CV. As I said, I've been also part of the Climate and Sustainability Task Force. This was started last year. And to be frank, when I applied for this, there were 4 to 5 different positions that they had, and I was not really sure exactly where do I fit in. I don't like to call myself an expert if I really don't know what I'm talking about. So that's when I joined as the communication specialist. I just wanted to start from the communication was all related to social media and within the internal and the external communications for the team. But we came to know that we were just setting up this. We were setting up a base to have good connection within IEEE, and then we wanted to have a good connection outside IEEE. So when we started, we had more than 20-25 members in the CSTF from all around the world. With all these people are not from the same technical background. That's, I think, one of the advantage. Um, Currently, IEEE Young Professionals is one of the world's. There are 4 big youth constituencies in the world, and IEEE Young Professionals is one of them. What makes us unique is the technical background that we have. All of us have very different technical background. Some people are from computers, electronic, it can be artificial intelligence, name it, and you'll have people from the different background here. And that's how we started. So we had 4 different goals within CSTF: to create tools and resources to support the early career professionals, and we also serve as a focal point, engaging in the space to provide network to these young people. We were trying to create an interface for the YPs of IEEE within the different IEEE groups that we have, just like HTB, Educational Activities Board. We wanted to have that connection between all the units that are there in IEEE. And also, this is for the internal one, but we also try to create an interface with the external entities like United Nations. We have been working with them since last year, and many other international agencies. So since last year, it's not just within IEEE, we have been collaborating with the government people, different industry people, academy people, and several other national labs and companies, right? So I feel that just as a volunteer, I don't think we would, without CSTF, I don't think we would have been able to set up that base or be in touch with these government people. And it's a great place to get the YPs into this space, I guess. If I was not part of CSTF, I don't think I would have been able to talk to these people, or, 1 year back, if you would have asked me that, I would have been part of any conference related to UN, I would have laughed, because these are really high level events, and by working with them since the beginning of the year, we have set up that base, and we have gained that confidence with these people that IEEE people are capable of these things, and we have the technical expertise that you're looking for. And that is what makes us unique compared to the other youth constituencies that are there in the world. So I'm not going to bore with all the technical details of the climate change. So if you have any questions, please go ahead. I don't know how much time do we have, so I think I'll just stop here.
We are having time, ma'am. You can go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that again, as an IEEE, how can we help? Everyone knows about the Paris Agreement. So IEEE, where exactly do we fit in this picture? Out of 29 articles, Article 10 is technology. That is where IEEE comes into the picture. We want to support all the climate change mitigation and adaptation efforts through the technology. As I said, I'm working in the electrical engineering domain, and particularly the insulation materials and the faults that are in this high voltage systems. So everyone have a different expertise. How can we support through our technical background, particularly to support this climate change and sustainability, that efforts that have been done in IEEE? Last year, our President Saifur Rahman, he was the one who started the climate change activity within IEEE, and he has been representing IEEE in several other UN-related events, and making a point that how, as IEEE, we are capable of supporting It's not just about the policy work, because in IEEE we are heavily working on the technology side of the things, right? But it's a great way to get the YPs into these high level events, and for us it's also a great way to understand how these policymakers are working, and to see how can we collaborate with them. There are few points maybe that we have noticed in the past few years, and it's very important to get the youth voices in these high level events. So this was one of our members last year who represented in one of the UN event that happened in, I think it took place in Lebanon. And at first we were trying to set up a base. As I said, we wanted to have that interface between the internal entities of IEEE. We set up some town hall events to start with last year with the IEEE president, IEEE Smart Village Chair, HDB Chair, Women in Engineering Chair. So these were just to show them the kind of work or what is our motivation as CSTF we wanted to do. And then we started to work with the external agencies such as International Energy Agency, International Renewable Energy Agencies, because these are the people who advise the governments and the who help them make the policies and the stakeholders, right? These are the people who can actually make a difference. Just being able to collaborate with them is a huge thing. So we, by setting up this online events, we were trying to show them our capability as YPs and our technical expertise, what we're capable of. We try to have different sessions on different technical backgrounds, and also hands-on workshop, and we educating the youth on these kind of topics, how important it is to start right at a very young age, trying to educate people and tell them why it is important to talk and motivate them to advocate for these kind of things right at a very early age, so that they can in future they can take the relay. So we are, as YPs, we cannot be staying here for another 10 years, right? So someone has to continue the work that we have started. So I think everyone should start at learning about these things at a very young age, and that's what we are trying to do as well from our side, educating the high school students. And then we had the SEM 18 and the G20 that happened in India last year. We were part of a panel discussion which was related to nuclear energy. There were several events. We were trying to engage with the global leaders that were in the clean energy sector. For example, the UN Environment Program, Industrial Development Organization, US Department of Energy. So it's a if it was not for CSTF, I don't think we would have been able to directly contact these people, because these are the people who, I mean, they're really busy with their day-to-day work that they are doing currently. So as a youth, it was a great way to integrate more and more young people. And last year's our main goal was to send IEEE YP delegation as well to the COP28. We had several people who were there at the COP28 last year, which happened in Dubai. It just shows that the amount of work that we put in at the beginning of the year, and we knew that for 2023, our end goal was COP28, and hopefully we will be able to get more and more youth people to get into these spaces. It is not at all easy, but I think this is a great start that we did last year, and hopefully we'll be able to get more people this year. And we started this year directly with integrating more youth people. There's the YPCSTF chair and Sibyl, who were taking part in the IRENA Youth Forum that happened in Abu Dhabi, and they had some sessions which was related to artificial intelligence and also related to energy transition. And last month we had IEA, International Energy Agency Global Summit that happened in Paris, and again the ministers the ministers of energy from different countries were taking part in this summit, and only 8 or 9 youth people from all around the world were invited to this event. I was representing IEEE here, and it's great to see that youth people are given more spaces in these kind of high level events, and it is very important to put our point forward. So without us putting our point forward, it is very difficult for them to implement as well, and to understand what exactly is the issue, and how can they make this part of the bigger picture. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation.
I think I took a little bit more of time, but
No,
I would be
ma'am, no
happy to
issues,
answer
ma'am.
any questions that you have.
Yes,
So
ma'am,
I see
there
that.
is certain questions from the participants, ma'am. May I help you to read those questions, ma'am?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they can just unmute themselves and ask me the questions as well. I don't mind.
Yeah, ma'am. Like first question is from Ovi Vashni, ma'am. Which moment do you think was the life-changing moment that happened due to IEEE?
I think when I joined CSTF, as I said, I was not sure how can I mean, just like you all, I knew about climate change and sustainability, but I never knew that I would be able to contribute in this domain. And being part of this high level events, just representing whole of IEEE and IEEE YPs, you being a voice of the young people, it's a huge thing. I think this is one of the huge moments that I think so far, being part of IEEE, being able to represent all the young people out there, and hopefully our aim is to push more and more youth people in these spaces. Currently, we have spaces for 1 or 2 people, but this is just the start, and we would like to push more and more youth people towards this. Again, we are all in the volunteering space. We cannot push anyone to, in a long term. The motivation should be coming from your side. If you don't have a motivation in a long term, it's very difficult to, to push people to do any work.
Thank you so much for your answer, ma'am. Ma'am, and the second question is from Harini Gopal. Do you still aspire for pursuing your journey as a karate trainee?
I am still in contact with my instructor. I would love to get back to the competitions, but the last time I went to a national level competition was when I was in engineering. When I think just similar to you guys, I used to take part in the university level sports. That was the last time I think I was part of the competition. But right now I can be part of it as a referee, but maybe not as a trainee, because I noticed that when you're at the national levels, people do train for this particular competition the whole year. And as an engineering student, I couldn't give that much time to train myself for these competitions. And for me, just being part of that national level competition was a huge thing. But I wish I could have done more. Mm, Hopefully, I don't know if I can get back into the competitions.
Yeah, ma'am, we are eagerly waiting for your comeback, ma'am. And the next question is from Yashwant. What gave you the resilience to represent yourself in such a way in a country which you have just been to?
You mean in France, or?
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
I was just excited about going to going out of the country, and just to see how is it. It was not easy. Trust me, it was not easy. It was very, very difficult, not knowing the language. If it is a bilingual country, it is another thing. But when you don't know the language, And also in terms of friends, it's not how you have my friends back in India. I know that I don't need to talk to them every day. I can just I come to India once in a year, and still we still have the same connection. I don't need to write to them, talk to them every day. But here, it's not the same thing. Uh, our culture is what makes us different, and it's just it's very different, to be frank. But it's been a great experience. You become more independent, and only you can be solving your own problems. There's no one else here, so it makes you very independent. And all these degrees, at the end of the day, I think um, as I said, PhD, I've learned a lot in terms of being patient, and it makes you a new person. You learn a lot and lot about yourself. Overall, it's been a. I would never change anything that has happened so far, because that's what I, because of all the circumstances that I've had so far, has made me what I'm today. So yeah.
Thank you for your answer, ma'am. And the next question is from Hari Prasad. Which volunteering experience made you feel to be a part of this IEEE family?
I think all the IEEE experience I've had so far, everyone is just really amazing here. Everyone keeps telling me, for example, here, professional experience, that people from my work, that why do you volunteer so much? You are not even paid for this work. But that is what makes my volunteer or everyone's volunteer experience special, I guess. People here are so they're really nice, they're very cooperative, and when you know that the people are being so cooperative and nice, it automatically you want to work with them and volunteer with them. And you can have this, as I said, it's not just volunteering. You keep this contact forever. They become friends. Yeah, some of them might become friends for your life as well. So I can say that all the contacts that I've made so far, everyone have been really nice. That's the only reason I've given. I think I give more and more towards IEEE, because of all the people that I've met, and amazing connections that I've made so far. Hopefully, you guys will also. Hopefully I'll see most of you doing this work as well in the future, in many of the leadership positions, and I would be happy to listen to sometime your webinar as well in the future.
Sure, ma'am. And then the final question is from Malini. What could be your thoughts for whom hesitate to transition from student member to young professional?
Transition from student to, in terms of IEEE or work wise?
In terms of IEEE, ma'am.
IEEE, I think it's pretty smooth. You don't see that much of a difference. Once you finish your degree, you're automatically a young professional. I think for me, it was difficult as well to understand everything, what was happening, because I was not really involved in IEEE as a student. So when I started volunteering, I was directly a YP. So I started from scratch, I could say, all the experience that I've had. But there's a lot happening. There's a lot of activities happening in IEEE. Sometimes it's just that we don't know about a lot of things that is happening around. IEEE is huge, and it is spread around all the countries, and you have tons of opportunities. Trust me when I say tons of opportunities. There's tons of opportunities, projects, fundings, scholarships, everything. But it's just that it is not reaching out to everyone out there. Hopefully we will be able to make this one particular thing, everyone is working towards, making it more accessible towards people. But yeah, I didn't have a problem as such transitioning from student to YP. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope that's the end of the query session. Dr. Hegde
Thank
has
you.
owned a deep understanding of cutting-edge technologies and the transformative potential. Her academic achievements speak volumes about her dedication and expertise in her field. Beyond academic, MAM impacts extends far and beyond. As the partnership lead of the IEEE Young Professionals Climate and Sustainability Task Force, she plays a vital role in fostering collaboration and driving innovation to address pressing climate changes. Her leadership in this capacity underscores her unwavering commitment to creating a sustainable future for generations to come. Ma'am, contribution to the intersection of technology and environmental advocacy have not gone unnoticed. Her recognition as an IEEE CS 20 in the 20s honoree is a testament to her rising star status in her field. Through her exemplary work and dedication, she serves as an inspiration to aspiring researchers and advocates worldwide. Today, we are very much honored to have you with us, ma'am. We all are inspired by your talk. Sure, we will follow your steps, ma'am. Thank you once again for accepting our invitation, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Now,
Thank you.
I would like to call Ariprasad to distribute a gesture of appreciation to our resource person for the day, Sneha ma'am. Kindly accept the e-memento as a token of gratitude, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
And ma'am, with your permission, can we have a group picture?
Yes, of course, yeah.
I request all the participants to turn on the camera.
It's really nice to see all your faces.
On the count of 1, 2, 3. Say cheese. Thank you, ma'am.
Are you all in the same engineering year or how is it?
Yeah, ma'am. We are in same engineering college. Like
No,
Different years.
you all are in
Some
first years
are,
or second years?
yeah,
Yeah.
some of them from second years and some of them from third years. Like that.
Same engineering background or different
Yeah,
engineering
ma'am.
background?
Yeah, ma'am. We all are from electrical and electronics department, ma'am.
Oh, E&E, nice. So this is your student branch chapter is for E&E, not a general one. It-
Actually, we are having for all the societies, ma'am.
You
For
have
all
student branch
departments.
chapter for all the societies?
For all departments. Sorry, ma'am. For all
All
departments.
departments.
Yeah.
I see. I was like all the societies. Wow, that's
Even
a lot.
CS and EC is working with us.
TS and EC is working with you.
We are having 10 societies along with us in student branch, ma'am.
Would
We
you might
are looking after the 10 societies, ma'am. 2 with ADS and CS. So we have split
Wow.
it society with departments, ma'am.
Wow, that's amazing. So, do you know any of the members who are in computer society? I don't know if you know Prashant Mohan or might be knowing
Yes,
him,
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am. Prashant.
He's from the same college, or he's your senior or something like that, right?
He's our senior only, ma'am. We have a connection with him, ma'am.
Okay,
He's from our section.
he's just give me a yeah. Nice.
As we bring the session to a close, let's proceed with vote of thanks. On behalf of the entire Erudite team and our student members, I extend our sincere gratitude for your enlightening presentation on navigating your engineering journey, embracing opportunities with IEEE. Your insights into leveraging IEEE resource to empower student members in their career pursuits were truly invaluable. Your expertise and passion have undoubtedly ignited inspiration and provided a roadmap for our students to navigate the path towards success. Thank you for your dedication to nurturing the next generation of leaders and for sharing your knowledge with us today. Once again, thank you, Sneha ma'am, for your enlightening presentation and for being an exemplary role model for us all. We look forward to applying the knowledge and insight gained today to drive positive change in our own respective endeavors. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you once again. Thank you for inviting me. It was hopefully I'll be able to at least some of you being part of the committees that I'm in, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you're interested to volunteer or um, anything related to IEEE. Let me know if I can help you in any way. It was really nice talking to you all. Yeah.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so
Sure,
much.
ma'am. Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, ma'am. Good night.
Participant, the feedback link will be posted in the chat box. Please fill it out before you leave the meet to receive your e-certificate. Thank you all.